Taehyun stayed up late in his room, reading everything he could find about Tarixians. The more he learned, the more he understood Dongyuk. Tarixians value strength and honor above everything, he told his friends the next day. They were sitting in a quiet corner of the academy garden, surrounded by plants from 100 different worlds. Their whole society is based on proving yourself better than others, Taehyun continued. And I found something interesting about Dongyuk's family. He showed them an article on his tablet. His father is Commander Kang, a military leader who lost a big battle 5 years ago. The Tarixians had to give up important territory because of that loss. So Dongyuk's family lost honor, Sung-hoon said, understanding quickly. Exactly, Taehyun nodded. Now Dongyuk is trying to get that honor back by showing he's strong. And humans are new to the Confederation, so he thinks we're easy targets. Knowing why he's mean doesn't stop him from being mean, Minja pointed out. Before Taehyun could answer, the Academy's communication system chimed. A hologram appeared in the air in front of them. It was Rector Park. Attention all students, the rector's voice filled the garden. It is time to announce this year's stellar competition. Taehyun and his friends sat up straighter. They had heard about this event from older students. It was the biggest competition of the year. Teams of 4 students will compete in 3 trials: knowledge, endurance, and tactics, the rector explained. The winning team will receive academic honors and an internship with the Galactic Exploration Fleet. Dohee's scales turned bright with excitement. An internship with the fleet, that's the best opportunity at the academy. The rector continued. Team registration begins today and closes in 3 days. Choose your teammates wisely. As the hologram faded, Dongyuk and 3 other Tarixians walked into the garden. They had clearly been listening to the announcement too. Another year, another victory for Team Tyrix, Dongyuk said loudly, his eyes fixed on Taehyun. I wonder if the human will even try to compete. Maybe crawling back to Earth would be safer. Taehyun felt his friends tense beside him. He stood up slowly, looking directly at Dongyuk. We're not only going to compete, he said, surprising himself with how calm he sounded. We're going to win. The garden went quiet. Other students turned to watch. Dongyuk laughed, but Taehyun could see the surprise in his 4 eyes. You? Win? Your team would need a real leader for that. Not a weak human who can barely handle normal gravity. Then let's make it official, Taehyun said. I challenge your team to beat us in the competition. Dongyuk stepped closer, towering over Taehyun. Challenge accepted. When you lose, you'll admit that humans don't belong at the academy. In front of everyone. And when we win, Taehyun said, you'll stop bullying not just us, but everyone at the academy. Dongyuk snorted. Deal. He walked away, his friends following. When they were gone, Taehyun's legs started to shake. He sat down quickly. Are you crazy? Minjae whispered. The Tarixians have won the competition 3 years in a row. No one has ever beaten them in the tactical challenge, Sung-hoon added. Their military training is too good. And the endurance trial requires physical strength, Dohee said. We can't match them there. Taehyun looked at his friends. Do you want to back out? I'll understand. The 3 aliens looked at each other. Then Dohee's scales turned a determined red. No, she said. I'm tired of Dongyuk thinking he can hurt people just because he's strong. Me too, Minja said. I'm not very brave, but I'll try. I'll help, Sung-hoon said. My memory will be useful in the knowledge trial. Taehyun smiled at his friends. Then we're a team. We'll call ourselves Team Terra. How can we possibly win? Minjae asked. The same way humans have always survived, Taehyun said. We'll be smarter, not stronger, and we'll work together. As they began to plan, Taehyun felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had no idea if they could win, but for the first time since coming to the academy, he felt like he belonged. The day of the final challenge arrived. Students, teachers, and visitors packed the academy's main hall to watch the competition on large screens. Taehyun noticed a tall Turixian in a military uniform standing near the front. Commander Kang, watching with cold eyes. Team Terra and Team Turix were led to separate simulation chambers. Each room had 4 stations with control panels and virtual reality headsets. The tactical challenge places each team in command of a small exploration vessel, Rector Park explained. You must complete your mission while facing various obstacles. The team with the highest overall score wins. Taehyun took the captain's seat in their chamber. Doi sat at engineering, Sunghoon at navigation, and Minjae at communications. They put on their headsets. Suddenly, they were on the bridge of a small spacecraft. Through the view screen, they saw stars and distant planets. Mission beginning, said the computer. Explore Sector 7, make contact with local civilizations, and return safely. Beware of natural hazards and possible hostile forces. Team Terra's ship moved forward. Sunghoon plotted a course that would take them to several planets efficiently. The simulation was incredibly realistic. Taehyun could almost feel the ship moving beneath him. On a separate screen, they could see Team Turix's progress. Donghyuk's ship moved aggressively through space, heading straight for the closest planet. They're taking the direct approach as usual, Doi noted. Let's stick to our plan. Taehyun said. Diplomacy first, fighting only if necessary. When they reached the first planet, they found a peaceful civilization. While Team Turix demanded resources and information, Team Terra offered to trade and share knowledge. The aliens responded better to Team Terra's approach, giving them valuable star charts. At the second planet, both teams encountered hostile ships. Team Turix immediately attacked, showing impressive combat skills. Team Terra instead tried to communicate, discovered a misunderstanding, and resolved the situation peacefully. We've used less fuel and taken no damage, Minju reported. Team Turix has already used 40% of their weapons and has hull damage. As they continued, a new threat appeared, a massive hostile ship, far more powerful than either team's vessel. This must be the main challenge, Taehyun said. We can't defeat that ship directly. On their monitor, they saw Team Turix charging into battle. Donghyuk's team fought well, but took heavy damage. What should we do? Sunghoon asked. Taehyun thought quickly. Remember the aliens we helped on the first 2 planets? Let's call them. Minjae sent messages to the friendly civilizations. To everyone's surprise, they responded, sending ships to help. Together with these allies, Team Terra surrounded the hostile ship and negotiated a ceasefire. The final challenge came when both teams had to escape a collapsing wormhole. Team Turix pushed their damaged engines dangerously, racing straight for the exit. Team Terra took a different approach, using the wormhole's own gravity to slingshot their ship to safety, a trick Taehyun had learned from studying old Earth space missions. When the simulation ended, both teams removed their headsets. They walked out to the main hall where everyone was waiting. The big screen showed the scores. Combat. Team Turix 95, Team Terra 70. Diplomacy. Team Turix 45, Team Terra 100. Resource management. Team Turix 60, Team Terra 90. Mission completion. Team Turix 85, Team Terra 90. Total. Team Turix 285, Team Terra 350. Team Terra had won the tactical challenge and the overall competition. The hall erupted in cheers. Students rushed to congratulate Taehyun and his team. Even some of the teachers looked impressed. Impossible, Donghyuk said, his 4 eyes wide with shock. No one beats Turixians at tactics. We didn't beat you at Turixian tactics, Taehyun explained. We won using our own approach. Donghyuk seemed about to argue when a heavy hand fell on his shoulder. It was his father, Commander Kang, looking down at his son with an unreadable expression. The endurance trial was set to take place in the Academy's huge biodome. This special room could mimic conditions from any planet. Taehyun and his friends stood nervously at the entrance, watching other teams prepare. Team Tyrix will be hard to beat here, Minja said quietly. His transparent body trembled slightly. They train in harsh conditions all the time. Across the room, Dong-hyuk and his team were doing stretching exercises. Their muscles bulged under their uniforms. Dong-hyuk caught Taehyun looking and smirked. "We need a plan," Taehyun said, turning back to his friends. "We can't match their strength, but maybe we don't have to." He pulled out a small device he had made with Do-ee's help. "I've been studying how Earth explorers survived in extreme places like Mount Everest and the South Pole." "What did you learn?" Sung-hoon asked. "They succeeded by being smart, not just strong," Taehyun explained. "They planned carefully, used the right tools, and worked together." Rector Park's voice came over the speakers. "The endurance trial will test your ability to survive and adapt. Teams must cross 5 different environments and reach all checkpoints. Speed matters, but so does safety." The doors to the biodome opened, revealing a vast landscape that looked like a desert. Heat rolled out in waves. "Teams will start at 2-minute intervals," the rector announced. "Team Tyrix, you're first." Dong-hyuk and his team jogged confidently into the desert heat. 2 minutes later, Team Terra was called. As they entered, Taehyun felt the heat hit him like a wall. "Remember the plan," he gasped. "Slow and steady. Save energy." The first environment was a desert with 3 suns beating down. Team Tyrix ran ahead quickly, soon out of sight. Taehyun's team moved more slowly, using the lightweight sun shields they had designed. The second zone was a frozen wasteland. Team Terra caught sight of Team Tyrix struggling through deep snow. The Tyrixians were pushing forward with brute strength, but they looked tired already. "They're wasting energy," Do-ee observed. Taehyun's team used the snowshoes they had designed, walking on top of the snow instead of through it. They began to catch up. The third zone was a thick jungle with strange plants. The fourth was a mountain with thin air. In each place, Team Terra used clever tools and helped each other instead of competing. In the mountain zone, Taehyun started to feel dizzy from the thin air. Without a word, Minja linked his air regulator to Taehyun's suit, sharing his special air mix. This helped Taehyun keep going. As they entered the final zone, an electrical storm raged ahead. The sky flashed with purple lightning. "Warning! Ion storm approaching," said the computer voice. "Seek shelter or risk damage." They saw Team Tyrix far ahead, pushing directly into the storm. The Tyrixians were determined to finish first no matter what. "We should wait," Taehyun said, checking his device. "The storm will pass in 10 minutes. "But we'll lose time," Sung-hoon argued. "Better to finish safely than not finish at all," Taehyun replied. They found shelter under a rock ledge and waited. When the storm passed, they moved forward quickly. Minjae, whose species could naturally sense electrical fields, guided them through the safest path. They'd reached the finish line 15 minutes after Team Tyrix. Dong-hyuk was waiting, his uniform torn and burned in places. He and his teammates had injuries from the storm. "We won," he said, grinning despite his burns. 15 minutes ahead. Rector Park stepped forward. "Time is only part of the score," he said. "Safety and teamwork also count." Team Tyrix finished first, but loses points for injuries and equipment damage. Team Terra completed the course with perfect safety records. He showed the scoreboard. After 2 trials, the teams were tied. Dong-hyuk's face darkened with anger. He stepped toward Taehyun. "This isn't over. The tactical challenge is next, and no one beats Tyrixians at tactics." Rector Park moved between them. "Save your energy for the competition," he said firmly. He looked at Taehyun with what might have been approval. Both teams showed different strengths. The final trial will decide the winner. As Taehyun walked away with his friends, he felt proud but worried. The hardest challenge was still to come, and Dongyuk would be more determined than ever to win. Kim Tae-yun stared out the small window of the shuttle as it approached the huge space station. His heart beat fast in his chest. The Galactic Academy hung in space like a giant wheel with spokes coming out from the center. Lights sparkled across its surface. "First time in space?" asked the blue-skinned alien sitting next to him. Tae-yun nodded. "First time leaving Earth." The alien smiled, showing teeth that glowed slightly. "You're the human student, aren't you? The news is all over the Academy network." Tae-yun tried not to show how nervous he felt. At 16, he was the first human ever to be accepted to the Galactic Academy. Earth had only joined the Galactic Confederation 3 years ago, after humans proved they could be useful during first contact. The shuttle docked with a soft bump. Tae-yun grabbed his small bag and followed the other students out. The air in the station smelled clean but strange, with a hint of something like cinnamon. "Student Kim Tae-yun," a voice called out. Tae-yun turned to see a tall figure with 4 arms and golden skin walking toward him. The alien wore the blue uniform of the Academy with a student guide badge. "I'm Lee Ju-woo," the 4-armed alien said with a bow that looked very Earth-like. "My ancestors left Earth 500 years ago to live on Doran. Our bodies changed over time." Ju-woo held out one of his right hands. "I'll be your guide." Tae-yun shook the hand, surprised by how warm it felt. "Thank you. The welcome ceremony starts in 1 hour. I'll show you to your room first." They walked through hallways with walls that sometimes turned clear, showing the stars outside. Students of all shapes and sizes moved around them. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated instead of walked. Tae-yun saw beings with multiple eyes, heads, or limbs. He tried not to stare. 214 species study of the Academy. Ju-woo explained. "You'll get used to it." Tae-yun wasn't so sure. Even with the translator chip behind his ear, he felt lost and small. His room was simple but strange. The bed adjusted its shape when he touched it. The walls changed color based on his mood. "Rest for a few minutes," Ju-woo said. "I'll come back to take you to the ceremony." Alone, Tae-yun sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the small picture of his family he had brought. His parents had been so proud when he got the scholarship. "Show them what humans can do," his father had said. The welcome ceremony took place in a huge round room. Hundreds of students sat in circles around a central platform. Tae-yun followed Ju-woo to seats near the front. A tall, elegant being with silver skin stepped onto the platform. "Welcome, students. I am Rector Park Hyun-sik." The rector's voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You represent the best young minds from across the Confederation." The rector began to introduce new students by species. When he called out Earth, Tae-yun stood up as he had been told to do. "We welcome our first human student, Kim Tae-yun," the rector said. "Earth is our newest member world, and we look forward to the unique perspective humans will bring to our community." As Tae-yun stood there, he heard a loud laugh from across the room. A large student with blue steel skin and 4 eyes pointed at him. They led a primitive join. The alien said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Humans can barely get to their own moon." Some students laughed. Others looked uncomfortable. "Student Kang Dong-yuk," the rector said sharply. "We value all perspectives at the Academy." The 4-eyed alien, Dong-yuk, snorted. "Some perspectives are more valuable than others." Tae-yun felt his face grow hot. He wanted to disappear, but he made himself stand tall until the rector nodded that he could sit down. Ju-woo leaned over. "Don't worry about Dong-yuk. The Tarixians always think they're better than everyone." "I'll be fine," Tae-yun said, but his stomach felt tight. As the ceremony ended, Tae-yun felt Dong-yuk's 4 eyes watching him. He had come to the Academy to learn, not to fight. But something told him that Kang Dong-yuk wasn't going to make that easy. Tae-yun woke up to a soft, beeping sound. The walls of his room had turned a gentle blue. "First day of classes," said a calm voice from the room's computer. "Your schedule is ready." He got dressed quickly in his new academy uniform. The material felt strange against his skin, but adjusted to his body temperature. When he checked the screen by his door, he saw his first class was practical physics. The hallways were busy with students rushing to classes. Taehyun followed the map on his small handheld device. The school was huge, and he got lost twice before finding the right room. "You're late," said the teacher, a tall being with purple skin that seemed to glow. "I am Professor Yoon Ji-soo. Take a seat." Taehyun looked around. The only open seat was next to a small alien with skin so clear Taehyun could see the organs inside. The alien waved shyly. "I'm Choi Min-jae," the transparent alien whispered as Taehyun sat down. "I'm your roommate. I came in late last night when you were sleeping." "Nice to meet you," Taehyun whispered back. "I'm the human. Everyone knows," Min-jae said. "We should pay attention now. Professor Yoon doesn't like talking in class." The lesson was about gravity manipulation, something Earth scientists had only begun to understand. Taehyun tried to follow along, but much of it went over his head. He felt lost until they broke into pairs for a lab experiment. "I'll help you," Min-jae said. "On my world, we study physics from a very young age." With Min-jae's help, Taehyun started to understand how to use the small gravity simulator on their desk. They had to change the gravity field to move small objects through a maze. "Not bad," Min-jae said when Taehyun successfully completed a simple pattern. "You learn quickly." From across the room, Taehyun heard a familiar laugh. Kang Dong-hyuk was watching them with all four of his eyes. "Look at the primitive trying to understand real science," Dong-hyuk said to his friends. The Tarixian was much bigger up close, with muscles that seemed to ripple under his steel-blue skin. On his planet, they still think gravity is just about things falling down. Some students laughed. Taehyun tried to ignore them and focus on the experiment. When Professor Yoon stepped out of the room for a moment, Dong-hyuk walked over to their desk. "Let me show you how it's done." Before Taehyun could stop him, the Tarixian adjusted the settings on their gravity simulator. Suddenly, Taehyun felt a crushing weight on his chest. He couldn't breathe. The gravity around him had increased to 5 times Earth normal. He fell to his knees, gasping for air. "Stop it." Min-jae tried to reach for the controls, but Dong-hyuk pushed him away. "This is normal gravity for grown-ups," Dong-hyuk said. "Can't handle it, human." Taehyun's vision started to go dark. With a huge effort, he reached up and hit the emergency stop button on the simulator. The crushing weight disappeared. He took deep breaths, his whole body shaking. "Weak," Dong-hyuk sneered as he walked away. Professor Yoon returned and seemed to notice something was wrong. After class, she asked Taehyun to stay behind. "Was there a problem with your simulator?" she asked. Taehyun hesitated. On Earth, he would tell a teacher about bullying, but he didn't know how things worked here. "I'm still learning," he said finally. Professor Yoon looked at him with her strange purple eyes. "At the academy, we believe students must solve their own problems. In space, no one can solve your problems for you. Remember that." She walked away, leaving Taehyun alone with his thoughts. In the hallway, Min-jae was waiting. "Are you okay?" "I'll be fine," Taehyun said, even though he didn't feel fine at all. "Dong-hyuk picks on many students, not just you," Min-jae said. "His family is important on his world. He thinks that makes him better than everyone." Taehyun nodded, thinking hard. He couldn't match Dong-hyuk's strength. He would need to find another way to stand up to the bully. Earth had joined the Galactic Confederation because humans were good at solving problems. It was time to solve this one. The Academy's main hall was filled with excited voices. Team Terra had won the stellar competition, beating the Tarixians for the first time in years. Taehyun stood with his friends, still not quite believing they had done it. Rector Park stepped onto the central platform, raising his hands for silence. The room quickly grew quiet. "Today we witnessed something remarkable," the rector said, his voice carrying to every corner. Team Terra has shown us that there are many paths to success. They did not win by being the strongest or the most experienced. They won by combining their diverse talents and finding creative solutions. He held up a shining gold medallion. I present the Champions Medal to Team Terra, this year's winners of the stellar competition. Taehyun and his friends walked to the platform. As the rector placed the medal in Taehyun's hands, the human boy felt a surge of pride. He turned to share the moment with his team. "This belongs to all of us," he said, holding the medal where they could all touch it. As they stepped down from the platform, Commander Kang approached them. The tall Tarixian military leader looked intimidating in his uniform covered with medals. Taehyun felt a moment of fear, but stood his ground. To everyone's surprise, Commander Kang gave a small bow. "You fought well," he said to Taehyun. "Not with strength, but with honor and wisdom. These are qualities that even Tarixians respect." Taehyun returned the bow. "Thank you, Commander." The commander turned to his son. "Dongyuk, there is more than one kind of strength. Perhaps you can learn from this human." Dongyuk looked confused and angry, but he said nothing as his father walked away. Later that evening, as Taehyun was walking alone back to his room, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned to see Dongyuk following him. The Tarixian no longer looked angry, just tired. "I need to speak with you," Dongyuk said. Taehyun nodded, trying to hide his nervousness. "I thought humans were weak," Dongyuk began. "I was wrong. You won fairly, using your own strengths." "We had a deal," Taehyun reminded him. "You agreed to stop bullying others if we won." "I remember," Dongyuk said. "And a Tarixian keeps his word." Then, to Taehyun's surprise, Dongyuk performed a formal Tarixian bow, touching his forehead with all four hands. "I apologize for my behavior. I was trying to restore my family's honor, but instead I brought more shame by treating others poorly." Taehyun wasn't sure what to say. On Earth, he would offer to shake hands, but he didn't know if that would mean anything to a Tarixian. "On my world," he said finally, "we believe that former enemies can become the strongest allies. Maybe we could learn from each other." Dongyuk looked at him with all four eyes. What could a Tarixian learn from a human? Creativity. Adaptability. Looking at problems from different angles, Taehyun said. "And maybe I could learn about Tarixian strength and discipline." After a moment, Dongyuk nodded. "Perhaps. Next term, maybe our teams could train together sometimes." "I'd like that," Taehyun said. As Dongyuk walked away, Minja came around the corner. He had seen the whole exchange. "Did Dongyuk just apologize to you?" he asked, his transparent face showing his surprise. "Yes," Taehyun said, still a bit shocked himself. "I think he's starting to change." That night, Taehyun sat at his desk writing a message to his parents back on Earth. He told them about the competition and their victory. He wrote about his friends and what he had learned at the academy. "Being human in a galaxy of different species isn't always easy," he wrote. "We're not the strongest or the most advanced, but we have something special to offer. We see possibilities where others see only problems. We adapt. We bring people together. And sometimes that makes all the difference." He looked out his window at the stars. A year ago, he had only seen them from Earth. Now he was among them, representing humanity in a vast galactic community. The Academy had changed him. And maybe, in some small way, he had changed the Academy too. With the final challenge just 3 days away, the entire Academy was buzzing with excitement. The tactical challenge was always the most thrilling part of the competition. Teams would command small spaceships in a complex simulation that tested combat skills, resource management, and decision-making. Taehyun sat with his friends in their study room, surrounded by screens showing information about past competitions. "Tarixians always win the tactical challenge," Sung-hoon said, his green skin looking pale with worry. "Their whole culture is based on military training. Dongyuk has probably been studying battle tactics since he was a baby." He's been even angrier since we tied the score, Minji added. I heard his father is coming to watch the final challenge. Taehyun looked up from his screen. His father, Commander Kang. Doi nodded, her scales turning a worried purple. Yes, the whole Kang family honor depends on Dong-hyuk winning now. Taehyun thought about this. It explained why Dong-hyuk seemed even more aggressive lately. The Tarixian had bumped into Taehyun in the hallway yesterday, knocking him down and walking away without a word. We need to study harder, Taehyun said. If we can't match their experience, we need different tactics. For the next 2 days, Team Terra barely slept. They studied Earth military history, looking for times when smaller forces had defeated larger ones. They practiced in simple simulators, learning to work together as a crew. Taehyun focused on understanding Tarixian battle tactics, looking for patterns they could use. They always attack head-on, he told his team. They believe it's dishonorable to be too clever or sneaky. We can use that against them. On the night before the final challenge, Team Terra was practicing in an empty classroom when the door slid open. Rector Park stepped in, his silver skin gleaming in the low light. Working late. I see, the rector said. The team jumped to their feet, surprised. We're just preparing, sir, Taehyun said. Rector Park nodded. The tactical challenge is difficult. No non-Tarixian team has won it in 15 years. We know, Doi said, her scales dimming. But perhaps that is because they all try to beat the Tarixians at their own game. The rector looked directly at Taehyun. Sometimes the best way to win is not to play by your opponent's rules. After the rector left, the team looked at each other. What did he mean? Minji asked. Taehyun thought about it. I think he means we shouldn't try to outfight the Tarixians. We need to play to our own strengths. They worked late into the night, developing a new strategy. Instead of focusing on combat, they would emphasize diplomacy, exploration, and resource management, areas where Tarixians traditionally paid less attention. Finally, exhausted, they returned to their rooms. Taehyun couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, looking out at the stars. Minji's voice came from the darkness. Are you awake? Yes, Taehyun answered. I'm worried about tomorrow. Minji sat up in his bed, his transparent body catching the starlight. Me too. But I wanted to tell you something. What is it? When you first came to the academy, I thought humans might be primitive, like Dong-hyuk said. But now, I see that humanity's real strength isn't technology or physical power. What is it then? Taehyun asked. Adaptability, Minji said. You humans find ways to survive and win even when everything is against you, and you bring others together. Look at our team. 4 different species working as one. Taehyun smiled in the darkness. That's how Earth has always been. Many countries, cultures, and ideas, sometimes fighting, but often working together to solve problems. As he finally drifted off to sleep, Taehyun thought about the challenge ahead. Team Tyrix would be stronger, more experienced, and desperate to win. But perhaps Team Terra had something just as powerful, the human ability to adapt and unite diverse strengths. Tomorrow would show which was better, Tyrixian power or human ingenuity. After a week at the academy, Taehyun knew he needed help. The classes were hard, and Dong-hyuk kept making trouble for him. After dinner one night, he asked Minji a question. Do you know other students who might want to study together? Minji's transparent face brightened. Yes, I have 2 friends who would join us. The next day, Taehyun met Minji's friends in the library. Ba Sung-hoon was a small, quick alien with green skin and 3 fingers on each hand. Kim Do-hee had beautiful scales that changed color in the light and 6 fingers on each hand. Sung-hoon comes from Proxima Centauri, Minji explained. He has the best memory of anyone I know. Sung-hoon smiled. I never forget anything I read. And Do-hee is a Nephilim. She's the top engineering student in our year. Nice to meet you both, Taehyun said, feeling shy. We've heard about you, Do-hee said, Her voice sounded like music. The human who stood up to Dong-yuk. I didn't exactly stand up to him, Tae-hyun admitted. You didn't back down, Sung-hoon said. That counts for something. The four of them started meeting every day to study. Tae-hyun struggled with galactic history and advanced physics, but he found he was good at solving problems in new ways. One day, Do-hee was stuck on an engineering project. She had to design a power system for a small space probe, but couldn't make it work. The power cells are too heavy, she said, showing Tae-hyun her design. If I make them smaller, they won't last long enough. Tae-hyun looked at the design. Then he remembered something from Earth history. What if you use the sun? He asked. Solar power is too weak for deep space, Do-hee said. Not if you use mirrors, Tae-hyun said. He quickly drew a new design. On Earth, ancient people used mirrors to focus sunlight to start fires. What if your probe has folding mirrors that open up to catch light from distant stars and focus it? Do-hee's scales turned bright blue with excitement. That might work. No one uses that approach anymore because we have better technology. But for a small probe with weight limits, she started redrawing her plans. The next day, Do-hee's professor was amazed by her design. This is brilliant thinking, he said in front of the whole class. Using old methods in new ways. Who gave you this idea? My friend Tae-hyun, Do-hee said proudly. He's human. The news spread quickly. Some students started looking at Tae-hyun with new respect. But Dong-yuk was angrier than ever. 2 days later, something bad happened. Tae-hyun and his friends were eating lunch when Minja suddenly fell to the floor, gasping. What's wrong? Tae-hyun asked, kneeling beside him. My regulator, Minja wheezed. Something's wrong with it. Tae-hyun knew that Venturi like Minja needed special air to breathe. Minja wore a small device that changed the regular air into what his body needed. Do-hee quickly checked the device. Someone has broken it, she said. It's been tampered with. They rushed Minja to the medical center, where doctors fixed his regulator. Later, in Tae-hyun's room, the friends talked about what happened. It was Dong-yuk, Sung-hoon said. He's targeting all of us now, not just Tae-hyun. We don't have proof, Tae-hyun said. He had asked the Academy's security system, MIRA, to check, but the cameras hadn't caught anyone near Minji's regulator. What do we do? Do-hee asked. He's bigger and stronger than all of us. Tae-hyun thought for a long time. Then he pulled out his tablet. If we can't beat him with strength, we need to understand him better. I'm going to research everything about Tarixians. Why? Minja asked. On Earth, we have a saying. Know your enemy, Tae-hyun said. If we understand why Dong-yuk acts this way, maybe we can find a way to stop him. His friends nodded. Together, they began searching the Academy's database for information about Tarixian culture, history, and behavior. As they worked, Tae-hyun felt something change inside him. He was no longer just trying to survive at the Academy. Now he had a mission, and he had friends to help him. The day of the knowledge trial arrived. 20 teams gathered in the main hall of the Academy. Tae-hyun felt sick with worry, but tried not to show it in front of his friends. Remember what we practiced, he said quietly to Team Terra. Sung-hoon, you take history questions. Do-hee, you handle engineering. Minja, you're best at sciences. I'll cover Earth knowledge and help with the rest. Across the room, Dong-hyuk and his team stood tall and confident. They wore matching blue uniforms with the Tarixian star symbol on their chests. When Dong-hyuk saw Tae-hyun looking, he made a cutting motion across his throat. Rector Park stepped onto the central platform. Welcome to the first trial of the stellar competition. The knowledge trial tests your minds, not your bodies. Teams will enter separate puzzle rooms. You must solve all challenges to escape. The faster you escape, the more points you earn. Academy staff led each team to a different door around the hall. Tae-hyun and his friends entered a round room with no windows. The door closed behind them with a hiss. "Beginning knowledge trial now," said the room's computer voice. The walls lit up with questions and puzzles. Team Terra started working immediately. Sung-hoon raced through the history questions, his perfect memory recalling dates and facts without effort. Do-hee solved complex engineering problems, her scales flashing with colors as she worked. Min-jae figured out science riddles about gravity and light. They moved quickly until they reached the final puzzle. It showed a strange object with shadows moving across it. "It's a sundial," Tae-hyun said, recognizing the ancient Earth tool for telling time. "This is from my world." "How does it work?" Do-hee asked. "The sun casts a shadow on these marks to show the time of day," Tae-hyun explained. "But this puzzle is asking something specific." He studied the image carefully. "It's asking, when is a shadow tallest compared to the object casting it?" His friends looked confused. "I know this," Tae-hyun said. "On Earth, shadows are longest at sunrise and sunset, when the sun is low in the sky." He entered the answer, "when the light source is at the horizon." The room's lights turned green. "Knowledge trial complete," the computer announced. "Team Terra, first place." "First place." Min-jae gasped. "We beat everyone." They couldn't believe it as they exited their puzzle room. They were the first team out. Other teams were still working, including Team Tyrix. Rector Park announced the results to everyone. Team Terra has completed the knowledge trial with the fastest time in Academy history. They receive maximum points for this event. Students cheered and looked at Team Terra with new respect. Tae-hyun felt proud but nervous. They had won the first trial, but the hardest challenges were still to come. 10 minutes later, the door to Team Tyrix's room opened. Dong-hyuk stormed out, his blue face dark with anger. "They cheated," he shouted, pointing at Tae-hyun. There was an Earth puzzle in there. The human had an unfair advantage. Rector Park's silver face showed no emotion. The puzzles were selected randomly from all Confederation worlds, including Earth. There is no evidence of cheating. Dong-hyuk's 4 eyes burned with hate. "This isn't over," he growled as he walked past Tae-hyun. Later that evening, Tae-hyun was walking alone to the library when someone grabbed him from behind. He was pulled into an empty classroom. It was Dong-hyuk, alone this time. "You made me look bad," the Tyrixian hissed. "No one makes me look bad." Tae-hyun tried to stay calm, though his heart was racing. "We won fairly." "The next trial is the endurance test," Dong-hyuk said, moving closer. "Your weak human body will fail, but maybe you won't even make it to the trial." He raised his fist. Tae-hyun looked around desperately for an escape. He noticed a small vent in the wall behind him, part of the station's air system. He remembered the station maps he had studied. As Dong-hyuk swung, Tae-hyun ducked and dove for the vent. He hit the emergency release button, and the vent popped open. Before Dong-hyuk could grab him, Tae-hyun squeezed into the small space. "Come back, coward," Dong-hyuk shouted, but he was too big to follow. Tae-hyun crawled through the tight air duct until he reached another room. He was safe for now, but he knew Dong-hyuk wouldn't give up. The next trial would be much harder, and Team Terra would need more than just knowledge to win.